Hey guys, Christian Murray here, publisher of the Queen's Post. Today we're talking to Harpreet Toor. He's a candidate in the 23rd Council District, which covers Eastern Queens. Harpreet, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Christian. It is an honor to be in your company, actually, talking to you, one of the rare breed journalists who is still out there looking after the Queens.
Well, that's very kind of you to say so. Now, you're running for District 23, Eastern Queens, neighborhoods like Queens Village and Glen Oaks and what have you. Can you tell us why you're running for office and what you bring to the district?
That's a good question, actually, Christian. Before I answer that question, let me say something here.
Mm-hmm.
I actually ran in 2010. I was the first time a person who looks like me ran, because I wanted to be not just a candidate, but I wanted the people to dream and be something. Okay. And what I found out was when I started campaigning at that time, people were looking at me and they were like, they had all their opinions. There were things said on my face. I think there are people who probably might have taken it as an insult and left, but I took it as in stride, and I committed myself further that more work needs to be done. And to do that work, we need to break further grounds. And that is something, which we are looking today. There are plenty of South Asians who are running. But interestingly, there are 3-6 running with the guys with the turban in the city. And for me, that is sort of like, if I may say, that that trendsetter, which I started in 2010, that is paying the dividends. And also the other thing which I look at is that within city council, you always talk about diversity, but it was not there. And this is the time that diversity will be there. And that district has been to the core of my heart, because, the community, the school districts, and also it's one of that neighborhood where you find so much diverse communities living together and respecting each other. And that is the aim, and that it should be. That doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter how the person looks from outside or whatever his caste and creed is, that person should be respected. And that is something, which made me to run into that district.
So listen, Harpreet, you mentioned, 2010, I guess, you sort of said I'm the guy with a turban. How do you see yourself today? How do you see society looking at you? How do you see your campaign today?
I see my campaign today. Yeah, I'm way past that. The guy with the turban. People may still look at me like that, but I'm way past that, because I have been working with the diverse group of communities throughout my life for more than 30 years. I always tell the people, if they Google my name, they will find out and they will be shocked at the things and the people who I have worked with. Like I mentioned, I worked with Mark Wepron. I worked with David Wepron. I was community liaison for David Wepron for 6 years before I left with him and joined Census. The reason again was because, can you imagine, because of 89 less people, we lost a congressional seat in New York? So, that hurts. That hurts because, I put in so much time. My supervisor in Census, she was like, oh, you can do comp time here and there. I said, no, 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 no. Just give me 40 hours. I may put 60 hours, 80 hours. I don't care. Because for me, important thing is the community getting the services and community deciding the services which they want. Not somebody from outside coming in and putting it on you. And that is what my candidacy is about. It is not about anything else.
All right. So, you've talked about, being a role model, etc. What other things, what other things have prompted you to run other than, that and wanting to further the district?
What I found out was, whenever I will give you a perfect example here. Okay. In 2019, a religious guard bill was passed in New York Senate, and it was signed by a governor. Okay.
Yeah.
That bill was being passed in assembly since 2012, but the Senate was not even taking it up. So what I found out that to get the things done, there are two ways. One is from outside, one is from inside. Okay. Outside, I was doing whatever I could along with other communities who wanted this bill to be passed. But to get it done from inside, we actually have to work on at least getting two sitting Democrats defeated and getting new Democrats elected. One of them was John Liu, and the other one was Jessica Ramos. And Jessica Ramos, I'm honored to be called by her as Papa Tour. That's how she calls me. And she hugs me and she always calls me Papa Tour. And finally, we got that bill passed in Senate unanimously, and we got the governor signed. So that actually prompted me that, if you are not at the table, you are on the menu. And to be at that table is important. And this is a perfect time for me to be at that table because I understand the issues, not about the issues about just one community, but other communities from my experience working with all of them. Including you name the people I have worked with, beside Mark Weprin, David Weprin, in the beginning, I also worked with the current mayor, the previous mayor, Mayor Bloomberg, I worked with him. David Dinkin was the first one who I worked with. It goes back. So I am like, this is the time. This is the time to have that moment at the table so that the other people who are coming, the new ones, they should also know how to work and how to dream about getting the things done. Not just say that I will get it done, but dreaming and then getting it done.
Okay. Now, Harpreet, you're clearly, heavily involved in the district. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that and the organizations you might be part of? I mean, it's obvious you're really tapped in. So just tell us a little.
When it comes down to the organizations, I have it's my personal philosophy. Okay. The day I landed here, I have been a member of the Circulture Society, which is located in Richmond Hill, which is the oldest society and the biggest on East Coast. Okay. And that is something, which I decided that I will just stay the member of that society. I have been the president of the society. I have been the chairman of the society. If you get the chance, you actually should come and look at the new building. I got that building designed. And I also got, 101 Avenue in Richmond Hill as Punjab Avenue, another street as a Gurdwara Street. So for me, what I found out, people claim, oh, I am a part of this organization, that organization, that organization. They can be part of 100 organizations, but what have you achieved?
Right.
I look at the end results. And that's why at the end I say results, because that's what matters. And that's why I'm proud of being the member of Circulture Society, and I intend to be that for the rest of my life. Yeah, if something else comes up, they ask me that, okay, Harpreet, we will be honored to have you as a member. I will be more than happy. There is a JFK Democratic Club. I was part of their board member for quite some time. I am their member, and the gentleman actually at that time, voluntarily, he put up my name and he called me and he said, Harpreet, his name is Jeff Gottlieb. He was, Harpreet, I have put in your name and you are a member and you will be in the committee. I'm like, Jeff. And he was like, I did not call you to get your yes or no. I called you to tell you. And that is, I think, one of the reasons is because he knew what kind of work I do on the ground and who I am.
All right, terrific. Now, Harpreet, what part of the district do you live in?
Glen Oaks.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's funny. People sometimes wonder Glen Oaks because Floral Park. Even I don't know where the cutoff line is because zip code is still 11004. But based on the street, it comes up on the post office as a Glen Oaks or a Floral Park. And then Floral Park actually is divided in Long Island and Queens too. So go figure.
All right. Listen, so getting on to sort of, I guess, the more city-wide stuff.
Hmm.
Um, there's been a lot of shootings in New York City, and I just actually
Hmm.
saw that the 105 precinct, they're going to be sort of bringing in some violent interrupters there. But
Hmm.
what would you do as council member to clamp down on shootings or try and reduce them, and even just address crime in general?
That actually is a great question. That question actually goes down deep to my heart. Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, when they cut the funding for 116 precinct, I was like, why would you even think of cutting down the funding for a precinct
Hmm.
instead of providing the tools to the police? Defunding police, when this movement started, I was one of the first one to speak against defunding the cops, and I got a big pushback.
Mm.
And there were some people, they were like, Harpreet, are you sure you want to put that on the social media and this and that? I said, yeah, because people have forgotten, Christian, there used to be 2,300 murders, more than that, a year in New York City. We are down to what, less than 300 now. Yes, there is a spike in shooting, but I think one of the reason is because what Albany did pass this new bail
Right.
amendment law without even going deep into it, that how it will affect. I mean, can you imagine the cops pick you up, they take you, and judge lets you go? That actually is a demoralizing to cops too, that we just picked up a criminal and the judges are letting it go. So there is a no, we what we need is, we need, when we design or we write a bill, definitely you need the community input in there. But yes, the cops, they need a further, yeah, no doubt. As far as cultural training is concerned, Queens is multicultural, multi-diverse.
Mm.
I can understand that, okay, everybody may not be aware of your culture, but just because one apple is rotten, it doesn't mean the whole bucket is gone. Okay.
Mm.
So for me, I have a really good experience with the cops, and I appreciate what they have done to turn around the city. Nobody is giving a look at the number of lives saved during last, if I may say, about 20 plus years or so, by the
Mm.
shootings and the killing going down. Those people, apparently, they are having happy life. They have the families, they have the kids, and they
Mm.
are enjoying their life. Nobody's looking at it.
Mm.
So I'm looking at that and I'm saying, no, I'm putting my foot down. There will not be any cut in the funding for the police. And we actually need to have, yeah, training, maybe depending on where the precinct is. And you can definitely, there is one more factor which I will add here.
Mm.
We have such a diverse police force right now. We can look at the area, the neighborhood, and we can pick up the people within the police force who understand those community and place them there.
Mm.
Okay. And so that instead of escalating the situations, they can de-escalate the situation because they're already aware of the culture, they know the issues, and that's what I am for.
Right. Okay. All right. So if it were to come up next year, you would say, no, we're going to stick with the budget we have, maybe work it a little bit differently, but we're sticking with what with the budget, I guess, right? Yeah.
No, if we have to add something to make improvement in what they have, I will not hesitate to say it.
Mm.
I will not. But definitely, I'm not going to let them make any cuts into the police budget right now. No.
All right. Another issue, Harpreet, is schools. What do you think of the gifted and talented classes in specialized high schools? Would you look to keep those? Some people say that they lead to a segregated school system. What is your take on that?
My elder son is a doctor, my younger son is an engineer,
Mm.
and I have about, I would say, about 20 plus kids who grew up in my house, and they are about 8 or 9 doctors, about 6, 7 engineers. The other one are professionals. How they became what they became because of the schools. The question is not cutting down on those magnet schools,
Mm.
but preparing the kids. I don't mind providing extra resources to the kids who need to understand, who need to work. I mean, can you imagine that all of a sudden you say, oh, we, Columbia University dismantle that, New York University dismantle that, Yale, let it go, Harvard, let it go, UCLA, University of California system. I mean, come on. The reason why America is so ahead of the game and competitive is because of the good education system. Why would somebody want to dismantle that? And in District 23, we have one of the best, and I want to keep it that way. And if there are some areas where we need to have some improvements, I will work on that. But definitely not going back into where those specialized schools are giving them a name of whatever name they come up with for these reasons. Because there is one more factor which I will include here, that that schools give you a ground to be what I would say, the people who are going to go to the Mars. If we can have somebody from Van Buren High School go into NASA, why we can't have the next person from our district to dream and go to the Mars? Why not? And the school system will provide that.
No, it's kind of what makes the United States a special place. All right, so let's move on a little bit in terms of development and rezonings. What do you think in terms of the rezoning process that the city goes through? What we know as ULIP, where rezonings take place, community board approval, borough president, city planning, etc. What do you think of that? Do you think it's working?
The rezoning actually should be left to the community boards. They should have a really good say into it, because what is happening is, one family or two family houses, dismantling them and putting up multi-story buildings. That's not going to help the district. That is not going to help the Queens either. Okay, what we need is the say of the community board. Community board have been doing great jobs. Yes, as the time passes, you always improve on what you have, but you don't take away which is already working and then start reinventing the wheel. So I don't want to reinvent the wheel. We will look at what needs to be tweaked around the community boards, and that may be after I look at it, but not dismantling, taking away their power. Nope.
Okay. What are your thoughts on community boards, Harpreet? Do you think the way the members are selected is the right way, where the council person selects or nominates half, and the borough president sort of, well, I guess the two people there, the council member and the borough president, sort of work out who's on the board? What do you think of that? Do you think it's a process that's effective?
That process maybe needs to be changed, because what happens sometimes, you go into community boards, and there are people who are nominated into community board. They don't attend a single meeting in the whole year, maybe 2 years, and they still get reappointed. There should be that, okay, if you don't attend more than 2 meetings, you are out. New person will be in. Why? It is not a privilege. The community boards are out there to serve the community. It's not to have a badge on your shoulder. Oh, I'm a member of community board XYZ. No, you are out there to do the service. If you cannot do that services, then you should not be a member of that community board. It should be somebody else who can do it. And that's where I differ with the process which is there right now.
Okay. Now, Harpreet, Eastern Queens is a transit desert, many would say. And what would you do to fix that? If you were in the council? Well, I mean, you can't fix it. You don't have a magic wand. But what would you do to try?
I really wish that I have something like that, because it's funny that I really wish I have that carpet and the magic wand and fix the whole thing.
I wish you did too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely it is a desert. What other issue is, you have from Jamaica bus stand into Nassau. The buses are running east-west.
Yeah.
North-south, there's nothing. Little Neck, very few buses. So the transportation actually needs to be overlooked because our seniors, they need a better access to public transportation. Everybody talks about the public transportation, but when it comes down to finding the solutions, the money is still being pumped into the some of the projects or some of the places where it may not be needed, but it can be better utilized by putting in more buses, more handicapped and elderly accessible transportation. One of the things, which I definitely will look at, having multiple number of buses running north south, maybe a smaller size. You may not need 50, 60 seater buses, but maybe like about 25, 30 seater small buses, and let them run more frequently so that it can be optimized and the money can be utilized in a better way. So I think it is out of the box. People are not thinking. And we need to think out of the box to bring in the solutions which will fit into the community. And I can assure you that I will be one of them who will do it.
Okay. Now, Harpreet, what are your thoughts on like protected bicycle lanes as a, transit method? I mean, there's come a lot to Western and Central Queens and obviously Manhattan and what have you, not so much out in the eastern section of the borough. What are your thoughts on them, and do you see a place for them out this way?
Well, there are some streets where you can definitely put up some bicycle lanes. Few streets, not all of them. Okay, they are wide enough where you can do proper marking and cyclists can be safe and from accidents and everything. But every street in Eastern Queens is not fit for bicycle lanes. Number one. Number two, you don't use bicycle to travel 15, 20, 30 miles. You use bicycle to go within 4 or 5 miles, 2 miles, maybe. So there are areas where you can definitely look and do it, but I will not be doing it blindly that close your eyes, put up the bicycle lane on every street or every other street. No, because that will not only it will be less productive, but we will have more accidents and more deaths because of that.
Okay. Now, there are many people also, just moving to a different topic, there are many people that are now advocating for non-citizens to be able to vote in city elections. What are your thoughts on that?
I personally would like those people who are not the citizens, the green card holders, um, for the school boards, but not for the city, because their kids go to schools.
Right.
Okay. And if we want the parents to get involved in the schools, this is one of the way they will get involved. Okay. And that will also keep the quality of our schools higher as compared to the others, because I'm pretty sure that you must have looked at it statistically. Wherever the parents are more involved in the education of their kids, those kids have done better than the others. So that's why I'm just for that part. But citywide elected offices, nah, I don't think so.
Why is that?
The reason I think is because they may not be. There are two reasons. One is anybody who comes to this country, I want them to be American citizens. I want to, people talk about, oh, I'm immigrant. I say I'm American. Let somebody come and tell me I'm not American. So it gives them an incentive to get the citizenship and permanently settle down. That is one of the biggest reasons for me. Okay. It's like, trying to push the people into something which they otherwise will not think about. But then, once you put them something on the table where you tell them that, okay, if you do it this way, there are some benefits, then they will think about it and then they will do it. Even though we have the people who are citizens and registered voter, they don't come out and vote. but that's the different issue for different times.
No, I can tell you that elections certainly made me get off my backside and become a citizen. Yeah. Okay, so tell me, Harpreet, is there other topics that you're running on that you want people to know about, and that are central to your thoughts and campaign?
Well, what I would say is, that if I may say it as a revolution or as a groundbreaking, which I started in 2010, and it is happening in 2020. We need to have that, continue that, and to achieve those goals. Okay, being out there all the time, talking to the people, sharing your thoughts, sharing their pains. I will tell you something very interesting. I got actually COVID in March of last year when nobody knew what it is. Hospitalized twice.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay, hospitalized twice. I was on oxygen. There were no tests available, no kits available. And I'm here talking to you, smiling, laughing. But why those facilities were not there for the people? Definitely we are getting, I don't know if you want to call it old. I always say we are getting younger, because when somebody asks me how old are you, I always say 25 plus. But the question is, why those facilities are not out there? Why the hospitals are closing? Where my elder son was born, that hospital is closed. My younger son, who actually stopped breathing in my hands, he was revived, and he survived, and he got treated for about 6 to 7 weeks in Mary Immaculate Hospital. That hospital is closed. Why we do not have access to the hospital, why all these medical facilities, transportation facilities, they are being chipped from the corners slowly and slowly and slowly. And it is like, every time you need some facility, go to Manhattan. Specialized hospital, go to Manhattan. You need good care, go to Manhattan. Why we can't have it in Queens? Why can't we have it in around our districts, where it is only like 5 minutes away? Why it has to be half an hour? And God knows, if you are stuck in the traffic, by the time you reach to the hospital, who knows what would happen. So for me, those are the issues, those are the concerns, providing education, healthcare, transportation facilities, basically you name it. And that's how I want it should be. And I will share one more thought with you. My mom and my dad, Mother's Day is coming up this Sunday, right? Both of them, they passed away while I was watching. Okay, my dad passed away in 2011, my mom in 2016, and both of them, they lived with me. Okay, and I'm really honored that I had the chance to, when they needed me, to be around. So these, healthcare, that these nursing homes and stuff like that, for me, yeah, at one point, somebody mentioned to me, why don't I put my mom into one of those facilities so that they can take better care of her? I said, no, they won't, because for them, it will be a number. For me, it's my mom. So I look at the things as a person person to person. And I grew up with this philosophy in my life, to serve is to be a human. And that's what I'm trying to be, just a human, if I can. And that's my goal.
All right. Harpreet, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Christian. It was a pleasure talking to you, and thanks for giving me this opportunity.